I was talking with my bro Blue Pill, and we was talking about how we may have ascended to certain levels, right? And our thinking, right? The reason that we see things from perspective is dimension. So when you see things from a different perspective, you're literally seeing into a different dimension, right? So when I look at anything, I see multiple dimensions. I never look at anything from one dimensional, right? I am a multi-dimensional being. So a lot of people, they can't understand that because they may be one dimensional, right? You got one thing that you do, one thing that you master, one thing that you focus, one thing that you're under, that you think you are, whatever. That's fine. But I'm multi-dimensional, and so in order to be appreciated, you have to make the people that are under you, around you, on the side of you, multi-dimensional as well, so that they can see the perspectives and things that you see. Because a lot of people may appreciate my perspective, but they may not see it themselves. But I make people say, I never thought of that. Right? Because I've been through so many dimensions of reality that I bring that back, and that's how I observe the world now. I can't just look at it. It's like even with the Kanye West shirt, I'm not just looking at the back of the shirt, I'm looking at the front of the shirt. I'm looking at the person who wears it, the times is in, the different ways that people are taking it about. I can't look at things one dimensional. I don't have that default system. I'm always going to come from multi-dimensional, so I'm always explaining these multiple perspectives that I can see. So I see your perspective, I see this one, I see another one, I see people who challenge mine, I see all the perspectives. So it's dangerous to be one-dimensional in the world. You understand me? Where new dimensions have now opened up. How do I know new dimensions have opened up? Because we can talk into screens. At first, we only had one dimension of communication, talking face-to-face to each other. Then we were able to send letters. We had another dimension. Now we're sending it over time and distance. That was a new dimension of communication. Now we have instant communication, right? It's a new dimension. We're always advancing communication and dimension. Now I don't just talk to one people. You can talk to more than just crowds. You can talk to the world. It could be people from Africa to Brazil to Europe to Antarctica, Alaska. Everybody's tuning in from all different dimensions on this planet Earth. So once you realize that we've already become a global communication as a species, we've become a global communicating species on this planet Earth, but we act local. And so that's why we're not at that level to even understand where we at in reality, because we open up new dimensions, but we act in one dimensional. The moment you start putting your thoughts on social media, you're putting it on a global platform. You may feel local. You feel like all this shit you're doing is local, but you put it on a global platform. So now things have changed. So you may be operating, well, how do I sell to people in my vicinity? Why? You're selling it to the world now. The World Wide Web. Right? That's what they call the internet, the World Wide Web, the WWW. We forget about that. Human beings. And so certain thinkers said, oh, I get it. So that's when you get huge companies like Amazon and Apple, because they didn't create visions for local economies, states, cities, countries. They created it for the world. They created visions for the world because they were going to be using a tool that is for the world. So as entrepreneurs, as business people, as, human beings, we have to open up our minds to become more wide and more expansive. And you're going to find, because let's say that 2% of your sales is coming from Africa, 3% coming from Norway, Denmark, right? Another 1% coming from Brazil. Well, if you want to increase areas within your business, then you would change your marketing so that you can capitalize on markets, you understand me, that you're underserving, but you also getting attention from. So Canada, UK, we headed to the UK at the end of this month to go speak at the Royal Albert Hall. The most prestigious goddamn hall that they have in London. So somebody say shipping is crazy. International mindset comes in. Well, how about you have a center in all of these different places? Well, they said, man, that sounds like a lot. You can reach out to an entrepreneur, ask them if you can use their living room and they can ship for you. Now you're getting local prices. Business problems, business solutions. It's all the same. Every problem has a solution. It's just you have to be able to see the other dimension of that thought. Every thought has multiple dimensions. The moment that you bring in a problem, there is an opposite to that problem, which is called the solution. But it requires you to be multidimensional. Otherwise, you're looking at it from one dimension. So operating from one dimension will have you so stuck on the problem that you never flip over the coin to see the solution. Become solution-based and things change. See, I know a solution for me is I have to stop doing these lives. At a certain point in time, I will have to cut off these lives because I will focus completely on the community. So my solution to grow my community is that I'm only giving my game, my information, my knowledge and education to people who value it, that wants to be a part of that community, and that community grows. But as long as I'm giving this value here, then it devalues the other systems that I have. So I've set a date to end this because I have also a date for my community to grow. Once we got those 10,000 members, I can close it off and focus on developing that community more and more and more and more. Why? Because not only they're going to, it's what they call, I was studying this book and it was talking about, what's the word they use? It's a word they use. Commons. Commons are typically public places, right, that public have access to, that is often funded, right, by the public or government in some kind of way, right? So a library is a common. Everybody get to go in the library, use those books, right? It's funded by the users. It's funded by the government, taxpayer money, right? On college campuses, they had commons. Everybody can go in there and use it. The internet became a common. There's information commons, right? Information commons are where, everybody is pouring in information on the internet. And for YouTube, the way that people continue to pour in information is because by viewing it, people are getting paid. So therefore, they put in more information and it becomes like a public utility where everybody has access to it, right? The problem is, a person feels like, well, if I don't see increase or consistency by giving out my information, then I need to change that comment and bring it somewhere else. So, and this is why in the internet, information is not equal, because a person doesn't give all of their information away because they're not incentivized to. So why would I go and spend time to learn to give it away when I can't even afford to spend that time unless people are spending money on the information that I give them from the time spent on it? Right? So what you see on the internet, it bottlenecks. It doesn't grow past certain factors because it doesn't incentivize people. Right? Now, certain people that have solid platforms, they're incentivized more to do entertainment than they are information. Right? Because I can give all the information away, but if it doesn't continue to grow, then therefore I can't continue to do it. So I've studied these big concepts of commons, information commons, internet commons, food commons, things of that nature. So I'll use that in business. How can I create a business that it can become common to where a person feels like, yo, once I join the BWO, I get to have access to everything. They bring in teachers and speakers and trips and all of these different things, right? Think of what's more valuable than YouTube is curation, right? Directly giving you everything that you need, and what you do the same way, like Netflix can't be a common. People have to pay for the monthly subscriptions, and if those subscriptions decrease because they are a public platform, people don't see increased profit, then people don't invest their money into it. They pulling that money out, forces them to increase prices, to increase access to what? The platform. So it's not a public comment. So when you talking about communities of people selling things on platforms and educational communities, you're creating commons that are funded by the people that are inside that community. And more people that are inside the community, the more access and the more value that a person can add to giving to that community that funds that common. Right? So if we say, okay, well, the funding for this common is $200 a month, but the value of it means that you're getting $200,000 worth, right? Because if there's 1,000 people on that platform and they paying $200, then that's $200,000. So now the founders of that are going to take money from that and say, well, we getting $200,000 to do this, not $200. So what you're getting is the collective funding, right, that you could normally not afford, but now you can get access to because a large quantity of people are adding to the quality of the comment. Does that make sense? It's a thought that I'm working on to get people to understand, because we often don't appreciate the realities that we living in right now. When you born in 2022, you taking for granted the things you have access to, these comments you have access to. Our grandparents, great-grandparents, parents did not have access to all these comments. They couldn't pay for access to these comments. They couldn't get it. They couldn't get it. But we take it for granted that they exist all around us. And instead of looking for ways to give ourselves access to it, we shun them. See, I look at things from different dimensions. I need to study and understand the reality of the world that I'm living in to even appreciate the world that I'm living in. Can't even appreciate it if I don't understand it. I take it for granted because you born in this era, but you like, fool, this era might not exist again. What happens if the new model of social media becomes, instead of giving everybody access to just all your information on, like, this is a public common that is paid for by social media, which is ran by ads, businesses, Mark Zuckerberg, Instagram. I get servers. So I get to come on here for little to nothing, and I get to blast out my message for free. But Instagram adds a button for monetization, and now they add subscriptions. So I have two ways now to change how I monetize. I can say, well, every Saturday, only for subscribers of the 19 Keys page, I'm going live. Nobody else gets to hear it. Like this live, I can now share for my subscribers only. I don't have to share it to the public comment, because those are the people that are directly paying me. So they said, well, and then if I go live, you can look at the value metric of how much you're making to that live directly based on how many people buy badges. So let's say, well, the public got access to it, but they spent $5 on it. So a person, well, my time is more than $5 per hour, so I have to decrease the amount of time that I spend on this. Otherwise, I'm playing myself. So I look at things from that dimension. Or I can say, well, I'm going to do this live to give information to my other comment that people can come into. You understand me? So that now I'm driving traffic to something that's more valuable. So now I'm leveraging rather than trying to get direct payment. So how you use these things matter. The dimensions have opened up when monetization opens up, subscriptions open up. If you have product, service, or business opens up, it changes the dimension on how you're able to use these things. Now we have Web3, which changes the whole dimension on how entrepreneurs can go about the future of business. Man, they don't teach like this, B. They don't teach like this. I'll be giving y'all the game from these thoughts, man. This is just different over here. Because we have to become intellectuals and scholars and mathematicians and scientists and psychologists and sociologists. And, you know, we got to be able to think like this. But they ain't got this. And they don't teach this in Harvard. They don't teach this in Oxford. You ain't going to find nowhere on the planet Earth where nobody's ever broke it down like that.